my head on this time. God of the creation, the relations I've got. The only one that keeps me safe, the only one you should trust. For sure, it ain't right that I have checked the speck of dust from all of its side. Fall down, that from my height, cause I didn't see the plank I have in my eye. What you hear in yourself when no one's to be found? What keeps you eased out? What takes you off your mind?
Guess you want this, I want this. Everybody in this, we should have it. Stop illusions, it's in your hands. Show yourself, reveal it to them. Check the time to recognize it. You won't leave me even if I tried it. You're the artist in the mess and happily perform the new in your hands.
Big dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block in a big Corvette. Yeah. Ride around the field with a stick all black. Try with a stroke, but we ain't with all that. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Made $1 million and I can't go back. Got a lot of jewelry on me, man, you can't hold that. 12 asking better, tell him that I ain't so crack. Know your money long when your people can't afford that. I'm ballin', yeah. My mama told me that did my calling. I keep that stick, I don't do no brawling. Up and out the doors and let them all in here. Yeah, they all in here. Ooh, big dog. They come out the pants, so we big dog. Heavy paddock, gonna break my wrist off. I'm young out of rocket, about to lead dog. 3, 2, 1, I got big dog status, I'm a big dog vet.
Still rocking to the music. My bad, my bad. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Friday Live Helpcast with me, your hostess, the mostess, Diana Gladney. So pumped to be here, whether you're watching this live or on the replay. Thanks for being here. We got a little bit of camera news, if you will, that's happening in the creator space. But whether you're live or watching the replay, I still reply to those comments that come after the fact. Make sure you drop your questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. We got a poll today asking the real simple question. Get my monitor out the way a little bit. Do you trust camera reviews in general? Like, when a new camera drops, do you trust what you're watching most of the time? Or do you really just sit back and you're like, I'm looking for certain people and I'm waiting, like I'll watch them, but I'm actually looking for certain people before I'm like going to make my decision on the gear, whatever it is. Because in this content creation world, most of the time when you look at a new drop for something, like we know there's press stuff happening. And where's all this coming from? Last week we talked about Gerald on Den. That video hadn't happened yet. We talked about the Lumix S9 that had recently dropped, and I was sharing like my excitement about it. Obviously, this is Lumix or Panasonic's their own version of like the ZV-E1 to a point, or like the ZV line of cameras that are made for creators. Well, I'm sharing my excitement. I'm excited about it because I think it's dope. Everybody wants whatever for their specific brand. Like we all look around at the different specs. Granted, it's like, in my opinion, Sony is still like number one. You got Canon, then you got like Fuji, and well, I wouldn't throw Fuji above Lumix per se, but I don't really know how I would rank them yet. But hit the poll button, let me know your thoughts. I want to circle back around to that. Let's see who we got live on the stream. What's up, Cost TV? Good to see you. Glad that you're here. Say let's go. Well, my brother, we are going. Good to see you. Another character asking, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Saying, what software do you use to live stream? Well, my good sir, I'm glad that you asked. We use the wonderful Ecamm Live. If you want to check that out, you can go to diana.link/ecamm. Matter of fact, let me throw that up in the chat. So you just go to diana.link/ecamm, and that'll get you 2 months, or you got to use the promo code Diana, the number 2, MOS, and that'll give you 2 months for free. But to give you a little bit behind the scenes, this is what I see when I'm streaming. So I can have my comments here, I can bring yours up, I can start if I need to come back around to it. I got my music, got my vibes, and anything else that I might want to bring up or what have you. So that's what I use, Ecamm Live. I actually been rocking Ecamm since 2018. Switched to Mac from PC for it, just because it's that good. And I wanted Final Cut Pro too, so before everybody was gonna switch. Saying off topic, I know it just looks dope. I know, don't it though? That's what I like though. You can brand your stuff. It's specific to you. The only limitations really is your creativity. That's really what it amounts to. So I was talking to my video editor, which congrats. I just had a brand new babe, and so new addition to the team. But he just had a brand new baby girl, and on paternity leave right now. So dope. But we were working on some stuff. I'm like, man, I need a new live stream intro. And I told him like kind of what my thoughts are around it, and so he made that one for me, which I think is dope, and I love it. And I had a bunch of fun with it. So you saw when I came online, I'm like, I want something that'll get you hyped, something that'll make you excited. So there we go. So I have and only use your recommendations, I'm guessing like Marquez and CJ. I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you, Joanne Gross. Good to see you. Glad that you are here. And then we got Kombucha in the building. Hey. Good to see you. Glad that you're here. Saying camera crowd is tough. I made 2 videos about cameras recently and people let me hear it. Listen, when I say I was nervous, like when I first started on YouTube back in my day, when I first started on YouTube, first video was like July of 2016. Mercy, it was not in camera and stuff. All of that came later, because I noticed like at the time YouTube of today is not the YouTube it was back then, right? And so it was still very somewhat white collar ish if you were going to be teaching anything. And so I'm like, can I listen to the kind of music I liked or I think is dope, or do I have to? Can I even say words like dope, or is it more like you got to put on a certain suit to be in a certain space? And so it was funny, as I was just sharing this on the podcast. Any questions you guys have, as you all know, if you're new here, put your questions in the chat. We just have a topic that I want to kind of discuss today. I do want to talk about this more intently on the podcast, and we're working on a video around this. But the more that the story started to develop with the stuff around the S9, and then it not really being about the Lumix S9 anymore, it was really, honestly, a lot of creators and just reviewers, their integrity being called to question. So, I share how I got started early on, and I transitioned from just kind of like talking about business and stuff like that to business and entrepreneurship, to more specifically, if you own a business, here's how you get your stuff to look like what you're looking at online, because nobody's making the translation to make it plain English. So if you are joining today in the camera space, it's a very different platform, very different camera landscape. But I would encourage you, don't stop. If that's something that you really are into, don't stop. Don't let other people get you thrown off by it, because the thing you have to think about is, and you also want to remember, when you read a comment, are you looking at the loud minority talking versus trying to listen for sometimes that silent majority that you haven't intrigued to leave a comment yet? You haven't intrigued enough to really start engaging yet. And that's the difference when you're first getting into making content. Who are you listening to? Because you can always tell. As some people, like they'll leave a comment on something, like let's say we have a video that kind of goes wide. You'll see a bunch more comments on that particular video on the channel. Well, I can always tell when somebody has not met me before, is not used to my content before, and they are used to being like, unfortunately, it's a little bit of a negative air at times in the specific camera space. And I don't know what people's problem are. I don't know what their problem is around certain things, around certain topics or whatever, or like cameras. But it just depends. But if it's something that you really are into, don't quit. You just have to learn to keep speaking to your people and listen for when you hear them talk. Case in point, my live stream, I got music rocking today because I like music in my live streams or whatever. But I had somebody who was like, I don't like the music. Great. And I was like, okay, well, I do. And that's my vibe on my channel. And if you don't, then I'm cool with that. And it's like, oh, great. You just keep listening to music if that's what you want to do. And I'm like, all right, I will. Merry Christmas to you too. Like, versus I had somebody leave a comment critiquing something I said, this was years ago, that said, said something. I'm trying to remember exactly what it said. I can picture the comment in my head. But basically, essentially, the comment was saying how they like what I do. They watch a lot of my videos. They're interested in the content, but they didn't like how I would explain things too long, or I was too wordy trying to explain something that could have been shorter, essentially. At first I was on my, I'm like, how dare you? How dare you? I worked so hard, but I'm like, I also had to sit back and listen and say, this is now where, like I said, you have to listen for the silent. Are you listening to the sometimes silent majority, or are you listening to a loud minority? Am I listening to somebody that really is my core audience, and I finally intrigued them to say something, and they're saying how they prefer their content and how it could be better for them? And that's what it was. Versus the other person, I just don't like music. And I'm like, well, Merry Christmas, good luck to you. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not changing for you. You know what I'm saying? Kind of a thing. Versus somebody saying, it's like, man, I watch a lot of your content. I've binge watched a lot of stuff, but I don't really like when, if I'm looking for an explanation, whatever. Case in point, when we get into something really technical, and this is something you may not even pay attention to. If I'm explaining something super technical, like let's say the exposure triangle, and I know this is something that may be new, I know this is something that may be difficult, there's no music whatsoever. I'm very meticulous in how I speak. I'm very meticulous with the example that I use and all those things. Your audience will train you over time of what they like and what they don't like. So I would, like I said, I would encourage you, don't get too lost in the sauce when somebody's saying something. You just have to know who you're listening to, and your audience will train you to be a better creator, to help them. Like, it's a relationship. When you think about it that way, it's like when you have those people that say something, you'll know based on who's talking. Like, dag, is somebody like saying something? Another recent one, 2 years ago. Somebody left a comment, and y'all feel free to leave your comments and questions in the chat. I do want to get to that poll in a second. Bring it around full circle, though. He said, I like watching your videos. I watch a lot of them, but I don't like this B-roll, this third-party B-roll. He said, when you record your own B-roll, is way more impactful than just pulling it from like story blocks or something. Gut punch, because that was how I was getting by at the time. I was like, I don't feel like it. I was like, I don't feel like recording no more B-roll. I don't feel like it. And so for a while I stopped. And then they said something, I could tell. This is the silent majority finally speaking and saying something. They watch a lot. They may hit the like button. They may take action. They may sign up for the thing. They may buy whatever. And now they're saying like, you know what? I'm not really digging this. Can we change this? And I'm like, yep. Started recording all new B-roll. And I'm like, we started reducing it down to 15% of the video to 5% of the video. And now we almost down to almost nothing. So like I said, I would encourage you to not, don't get discouraged by it. Sometimes you got to know when you're just listening to somebody that's just having a bad day. And there's a lot of those people that I call keyboard cowards. And like I tell them, meet me out here in these real streets and let's talk about it. Because I promise you won't say some things to my face. Otherwise, if you're just going to be stuck on the keyboard, may the Lord bless you and keep you always, but keep it on over there. Okay? You say, I may be saved, but I'm not soft. Let's see what else we got going on in the comments. Ravens Talk with Yolanda. Good to see you. Glad that you're here. Saying right now, I only have Sony based on your recommendations. I love them. Well, I love that you love them, Joanne. And you know what? I don't cover like a bunch of the different brands and stuff on the channel because I don't feel like those are always serving. And honestly, to a point, it's like, I don't want to bash nobody else's camera. Like, I've gotten the Nikon Z30 in the office. Did not feel like that would be a good recommendation for people because it's like, even if that was an okay camera, and for a lot of reasons it is, but it also is ugly. And like the images, like for a lot of things, you can tweak stuff and get stuff to look a certain way, but it was ugly. I was really dope. I was really excited with Nikon Z30 launch. And I'm like, man, I like the way they did it. Like the way they did a lot of stuff. But then I got camera in my hands. And I'm like, this is ugly. Like I'm gonna have to work with this for a minute just to get it to look normal, especially on bronze skin. And I'm just like, maybe outside it looked different. I'm like, but this is ugly and I'm not finna play this. I'm like, so sent it back. Sony sent me the A7S III and the Sony ZV-1F. Never saw videos on those channels about it. A7S III is amazing, incredible camera, but it's too gosh darn heavy. Ain't nobody who want to carry that all day, every day. Not most average creators. So I'm like, this ain't neither. First of all, I'm gonna say this one line, and then I promise I'm gonna get back to the comments and the topic and all the things, and keep posting your questions. I'm gonna get to this poll in about 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Sent the Sony ZV-1F, or yeah, ZV-1F, and I was just like, no. The like contrast detection, autofocus, absolutely not. And so it's some stuff to my own detriment that I just won't cover on the channel. I don't care how big it is or how popular it is. If it sucks, it sucks. If I don't think like it's serving, it's not serving. There are some things that it's like you present, you like it's not bad. It's not my personal preference. Here's why I would or would not recommend it. But I can see value with some people trying it or using it or whatever, and you make your own decision based on that. That's how I present stuff. I'm still gonna give you my opinion and what I think, but it's like, if it's not personally for me, I will say that, versus if I really don't think it's serving at all, I'm just not gonna say that. So, I'm just not gonna cover it at all. There's no point in me covering something just to bash it. You know what I'm saying? So I have my own gripes about that, but Joanna, I'm glad, and it's good that you enjoy your recommendations. Beating with Nicole B, good to see you, saying hi. Well, hello, good to see you, glad that you're here. Rocket Rolls Vlogs, good to see you, glad that you are here, saying finally caught a chat. Hey everyone, good to see you, glad that you are here. And as Kombucha has pointed out, if you have questions, feel free to ask, but if you can't, put Q and colon in front. It makes it easier to find. Why, thank you so much, Kombucha, you are amazing. Said, I think the business of content very much increases your credibility on the equipment view. Yeah, 100%. The business content very much increases your credibility on the equipment. Yeah, because here's the thing, and my position hasn't changed for a while. Like in 2019, I first started diving deeper into the tech stuff because I was doing videography work and video editing work as a freelancer. I had just quit my job earlier in the year. So at that point, like, I was covering it from that perspective and that aspect. Well, that's changed since then. Especially like in 2020, I had set a goal at the end of 2019, not knowing what the hell the world had in store for us. But I'm like, I want to get more into speaking. I want to do more public speaking. I want to get more into business and the teaching and stuff. I want to leave more of the videography work behind and that not be my primary source of income. And so I did that. And so moving more into the education space or whatever. So that my aspect of like, are you making money with your business? Do you want to make money with your business? Is this the reason that you're making content? If it is, these are the things that's most important for a content creating entrepreneur. These are the things that if you are taking your camera to record your speech, this is what you need. If you are making content and you're wanting to make money based on that, these are the things that are most important. Whereas still to this day, you still see a lot of filmmakers, wedding filmmakers, videographers, cinematographers, and what do you call them? Whatever it is that they are, and indie filmmakers. Some stuff nobody cares about but them. And I get it. And there's value coming at it from those different perspectives. But mine has always been a little different. So that's the aspect that I came from. But I did want to talk more about this amazing drama that's happened so far in the camera creator space, because I'm like, at first I felt some kind of way about it. And I'm like, as it developed and then Gerald posted his video, I was like, that's really interesting, because I never would have guessed some of that stuff was happening on the back end. So let's take a look at this poll. Put a poll up asking, do you trust camera reviews in general, or do you only trust certain folks? Now, it says 94%, 16 votes so far, 94% say, nah, I only trust certain folks. And then 6% saying, I trust most reviewers. I think that's amazing to see that play out just real quick. Like I said, quick thing. And I've been so hesitant to talk about it. But I also been so excited to talk about it too, because I'm like, okay, I'm in this space, but I'm like, do I need to put out my own video somewhat replying to this Gerald video? And I'm like, no. Because I don't feel out of integrity with anything. Not one single thing have I ever posted on my channel do I feel out of integrity about, nor is there anything that I feel like needs to explain what my policy is or here's how I do stuff. Because I'm like, what it amounts to me and I journaled about this. I really spent some thinking time on this. What it amounts to me is, at some point, unfortunately, it seems some fellow creators have posted something to where at some point you felt out of integrity about. And now comes the explanations of here's why and here's how, but you know, like, it don't quite, it's concerning. It's not quite matching up to what I thought for some people that I'm seeing. And I'm watching it from super new channels or super small channels, to medium-sized channels to super large channels. There's a lot of people talking about this particular topic. And Gerald's video was basically calling out, if you haven't seen it, it's Gerald Undone's video, one of his last ones, I think, posting about how camera reviews need to change. The space needs to change, and like the issue with embargo cameras and press trips and going to press trips and doing reviews and stuff. And quite frankly, I don't find nothing wrong with the way that exchange generally happens, because it literally happens in any other niche and industry, regardless of YouTube being or a focal point, or influencers being a focal point, or whatever you want to call it. It's a press trip. It's a press release. I still get emails from Sony when they have something drop. I get a press release. No different than if I owned a newspaper. It's a press release. Now, whether or not you're covering it from the standpoint of, like, which is a lot of people's comments and concerns around it, is that they think that some people have not been as forthwith and forthcoming as they should have been to say, like, I'm getting paid for this, or I'm not getting paid for this, or whatever. That's one of the main common underlying themes that I see, but it's really a big issue of trust for some of these communities. I don't have that problem over here in these real and digital streets. And neither one of those streets went to Ecamm Creator Camp. That trip was paid for. So I paid for my own food or whatever, but everything else was covered. I take it back. The flight I paid for the flight. Okay, well, still did my vlog on it. I still talk about Ecamm. Social media marketing world. That trip is covered for me. I still vlog about it. I still talk about it on my channel. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it would have to be, there's a frustration, because at some point, and I feel like this has been bubbling for a while personally, we've been talking about this on my team, which is why you see more videos of me outside of the office, not locked behind the desk all the time now, is because it's become boring. Everybody's doing desk content at the desk. That's not the point of why we have this stuff. The whole point is for us to be out and about in these real and digital streets. Yes, there's some aspect of us being at the desk. It's efficient. I'm sure more spouses are super happy to have their spouses at home. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, that's not why we have these cameras. You know, there's an aspect of podcasting, live streaming, and, you know, whatever content at the desk. It makes sense. But creators is a much broader space than what we've been resigned to. And I personally am bored with the content. I've been bored with my own content. Been frustrated with my own content. That's why I'm like, we're not doing any more of this. I changed my diet and stuff. I was thinking about this, I'm like, just the inflammation in my arm and stuff has gone down. It used to be a big hump in my arm. Just pure inflammation all throughout. Changed my diet, all that stuff started changing for me. So I'm like, I'm about to be outside, because that's why we do this stuff. You should be having fun. We should be making friends. We should be doing all these different things. And so for my opinion, and I'll talk about this probably more clearly in a podcast, and I do have my own video I want to do this, not some sympathy, I'm sorry kind of a thing, because there ain't nothing to be sorry about for me. I've not done anything ever where I feel out of integrity about. You know what I'm saying? I don't have those same stressors, but there's been this tension in the space anyway, because content has become boring. Content has been stuck behind the desk for the last several years. 2020, 2021, I get it. Past that point, we just been complacent. You know, I'll say that we've been complacent and comfortable and not wanting to do anything else. And there is a changing of the season of, I would say, between the old and the new guard. There's a bunch of new creators coming into space, and I think that's amazing. I love seeing it. I love seeing the 30, 40, 50,000 subscriber channels going to the events. There is a danger, though. There is a danger. What you don't know can hurt you. And if you are uneducated about what you're actually getting into, it can hurt you. Here's the difference. Here's the biggest concern I have. And like I said, I'll talk about this in my podcast and a dedicated video. The danger is, like I said, what you don't know can hurt you. Thankfully, I study contract law. I actually read the FTC stuff. And I actually do know what all of the different little terms and conditions say for the various platforms or the whatever, even with my relationship with Amazon. And here's the thing. A lot of people have been doing stuff, like we talked about the Insta360 thing. I did a podcast on that. Go at Video Simplified Podcast. You'll find the podcast channel here on YouTube. Talked about that. And I'm like, if they overseas, they're an overseas company, was it Insta360 or whatever, overseas company, they may not have certain laws over there, but we do over here. I got tons of emails that I could prove and show where they like, hey, do you mind doing this? And I'm like, no, because that's against Amazon's rules. It's against my integrity. It's against the FTC rules about what we're supposed to be doing. And we don't roll like that. So unless you have a different approach to actually doing stuff legal, don't email us no more. And honestly, that's our approach in our language. Because like, if that's the way you roll until you change stuff, no, thank you. Thankfully, I've never got one from Insta360, but there's other companies that'd be like, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And I'm like, no. Creators has built their platforms on their own sweat, their own time, and their own dime. And it is something that I learned from Pastor Mike Todd. He said, I heard him say this once and I'll never forget it. He said, trust is lost in buckets and earned back in drops. Trust is lost in buckets and earned back in drops. And unfortunately, what we are seeing is that a lot of those buckets just got empty over this past week. Even if they never replied to what Gerald say, silence is a form of communication. Communicating is a form of communication. Unclear communication is a form of communication, and clear communication is a form of communication. Messy communication is a form of communication. And unfortunately, we're seeing it all over the spectrum. Whether that's just some people posting to re-emphasize, hey, just so you know, here's how I do stuff. But at the same time, like I said, I feel like some people at some point, they must have posted or did something to where you feel now you need to explain, you need to like, hey, like y'all, like it's very telling. It's very telling, unfortunately. I have a lot of creative friends. Some of them that go and do some of the stuff. I don't think the Lumix S9 is the point no more. I think that's getting mixed in confusingly, but I don't think that's the point no more. I can't speak to Lumix. I've never worked with them. I don't know what the deal is, but somebody was posting, it's like, we need regulation in the creator space. And I'm like, no, y'all just need to learn to hold yourselves accountable for what you're doing. You need to learn integrity. I'm held to the same stuff. I get opportunities. I'm grateful for them. I'm thankful for them. The switch pie. And when I do, I try to pass that along anyway. Because usually if I get something in, y'all know I'll be like, and I asked for one so I can give it away. We did that with SwitchPod. We've done that with Falcom. We've done that with Small Rig. We've done that with a list of different brands. Did it with Google because they sent the Google Pixel phones. Those phones went out. I don't even have them anymore. Those phones went out. So that communication has always been clear. Or if I'm getting something and I'm keeping it, I'll tell you, I'm keeping it and it's mine and I don't have one to give, I'm sorry. And so I just think it's been a difficulty and a frustration in the community. And unfortunately, like I said, integrity has been called to question. And some people now have to rebuild in drops is what it amounts to. And it's frustrating. I can tell from them, I'm reading a lot of comments. I can see some haters and just keyboard cowards. They're having a field day. But I also can see those ride or dies in the comments, which I'm sure they're grateful for. But I also can see where it's like a lot of back and forth communication of them trying to explain. And the better thing would be to just say, I done did some stuff and I don't feel good about it now. And Gerald's video made me feel X, and will you forgive me? That's what I haven't heard yet. Can y'all forgive me? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're wrong and you do something wrong, take it back to basics. Will you forgive me? I did something. I agreed to this and I should have done X. I've already been paid for it. I already got the gear for it. I already took the trip for it. And I felt like I could have did a better job of it. Y'all let me know what you want to see more or better out of me, or what do you need for clear communication for us to move forward. I am still going to be taking the trips. I am still going to be taking the brand deals because that's what pays my bills. But will you forgive me? And here's what I'm committing to you to move forward. Just recommit. Whereas now I'm just hearing a bunch of explainy stuff. Nobody's asked for it. Nobody's apologized. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like this is a monologue. It's a conversation. It's a back and forth. That's why I try to reply to all my comments. I try to get to everybody. Even for the live streams, y'all know we've done over 5 hours. Nothing but questions and answers, just communicating. So I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like the camera review stuff needs to change, but it's just integrity. At the end of the day, it just boils down to integrity. Hashtag these bottles are coming soon. This is off topic, but I got these bottles in. They were supposed to come when I launched my book. They didn't. So they're going to launch with the audio book. These are dope. So FYI, but I've been using it just to see if it's any good or not, or if I needed to try a different brand. But these are good. Just side note there. But I'll tell y'all up front, in case anybody's wondering, I will take the brand deals. I will take the press trip because I don't have no issue with integrity and saying what it is. You know what I'm saying? Just like I have no eCam, social media marketing world, traveling with Ray Evers, traveling with these different organizations that have sent me out that are not like as big as Sony or whatever. If they call and say, Diane, you want to go to Sony condo? Hell yes. I'm gonna vlog it. I'm gonna see what I can get out of it. I'm gonna see what I can share, and we're gonna make a whole lot of content around it. And I pass those blessings on to my team, just like I was sharing earlier. That don't stop here. I pass those blessings to my team, so it's like we was able to introduce paternity leave in the team and in the company. I was like, oh, nobody's never had a baby before. We need paternity leave for the men and for the women. Paternity leave for the men, maternity leave for the women. And I'm like, okay, so new benefit in the company. We now have maternity and paternity leave. So that stuff is, money is a currency. It flows. It should flow. But money is simply an exchange for value. The problem was that equation somewhere got broke in the camera space and in the creator space. And like I said, I've been real frustrated trying to, I'm like, should I post a community tab? I'm like, I'm just gonna wait till Friday. I'm gonna wait till Friday and discuss it and go from there. So I'm gonna answer some questions. Y'all drop whatever questions you have in the chat. As Kombucha said, put a Q:, makes it easier to find. I'll come back around and see if we got any more poll responses and what that is. So let me know. Rocket Rose, I did answer that and I appreciate that. So I also like when the video looks appealing to me, it leads me to listen because the teacher has done it. Again, your audience will train you. And I've only matured my content over time based on what, obviously like my own ideas and stuff, but when I hear feedback, it's always knowing, are you listening to the silent majority you finally intrigued to reply? And those could be diehard people. We had actually a young lady talked about this at Social Media Marketing World this year. And she was saying how your diehard fans, your like 1,000 true fans, are not always people that comment a lot. They could, you know what I'm saying? They could be watching, liking, engaging, doing all the stuff. They just don't talk a lot publicly. You know what I'm saying? They're not sending you the DMs and stuff like that, but they are involved. So I would pass that information along to y'all. And I've talked about this though, in this language though, but pay attention to, are you listening to the silent minority that's finally speaking, or are you listening to a loud, excuse me, I said that backwards. Are you listening to the silent, in English, are you listening to the silent majority that's finally speaking, or are you listening to a very loud minority? Because some people just unhappy in their life and they just want to spread that around, and that ain't none of your business. So saying people are so bizarre. Say that. Saying embrace the hate is all fun. I'm just working, trying to get out of my comfort zone. I realize a lot of people, I guess, react to titles, but don't watch the content. I appreciate you, Diana. You're very welcome. Made from Java. Got my cup of Joe here. But you know what? It's like, here's the thing though too. Not all bad comments are haters. Not all bad comments are haters. So if they are reacting to the title, it's always something to learn. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always something to learn. You don't always have to take an L as like a losing. It's like we learn, we win or we learn. And that's kind of like the adage that I go with. So if somebody's like, oh, I thought this was going to be about such and such, Then I'm like, okay, was I like, am I giving the impression with the thumbnail and the title that is such and such? Which is why I'll lead in a video that I think may do, you know, well or what have you. I'd be like, if you're looking for this, that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about X. You know, so you can go, it's like the video is gonna be in the description or up in the eye or whatever. Otherwise, it's not what we're talking about today. So go elsewhere. I'll tell them to leave before you even get started. Good. We ain't talking about that. Or you know what I'm saying? Just be clear. It's better to be clear and clever than clever with the communication always. Poxy Rock, I'm guessing. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Nice, bro. Saying, what all you have on that nice mic you got there. So this, if I tilt this down so you can still hear me, is the Elgato LP, the arm branded sticker on the back. And this is just the Shure SM7B, nothing else really special. I use crisp.ai to remove any noises, so there's no more plain noises. And Vocaster 2 is all I use. I keep my stuff super simple, so nothing else going there. Beaten with Nicole says, I was attracted to your channel because you seem very knowledgeable and passionate about your niche. Why, thank you. I appreciate you sharing that, which is important, I think, because there are times when it's like, do anybody care? Like, for real, for real. It's like, can I just disappear and nobody would care? You know what I'm saying? Like, it just being real honest. And it's like, it's like, do I need to? Or what have you? And I had a very candid conversation recently with my video editor about some things. And he was critical about some stuff. And I'm like, my thing is, you can't hurt my feelings. In my company, at least. I was like, you can't hurt my feelings. So that truth can always flow. Either way, it's like, say the hard thing, because we will continue to suck. Things will suck because you don't say anything. So speak up. And so he had this long thing that he sent to me, this long message. And I sat back and I was like, you're right. I don't disagree about this. I'm like, I don't really like this one, but I don't disagree with you. It's like, so, you know, whatever. So we had that conversation. It's like, okay, so what changes can we make around that? And so knowledgeable is great. Passionate is great as well. And the thing is, it's like being able to present what I share and stuff like that is more than just me, you know what I'm saying, on the back end that makes that possible. And so kudos, shout out to my video editor, shout out to my thumbnail girl who just got another job, so we got to replace her. So she's moved into her career, graduated from college. I'm very excited for her. We celebrate her. But I also have to replace her now. And I'm like, yep, it's wonderful. Go to school, do all the things which we had talked about before, but now it's just like, heck on it. So Kimbucha saying, on the topic of the stream though, is it considered quote unquote less ethical if you only focus on positives and not negatives? Are you required to disclose negative camera features? Who decides that? Here is how I would approach that. And I love that question, Kimbucha. Here's how I would approach that. Is it considered less ethical to only focus on the positive over the negatives? It depends on who is the owner of the content. Because if you are doing a sponsored piece, this is my opinion. If you're doing a sponsored piece, that means I've been paid to do this piece. Now we have to look at what were the requirements for the payment. And if you look at any kind of contract law, I encourage all creators to get a Black's Law dictionary, because the same language that you use in plain English, it is not the same language when it comes to legal contracts and the stuff that you sign off on, even verbal agreements. So, am I being paid for this content? Yes or no? What are the requirements in accordance with the payment? If I'm being paid to do something, but they say we're paying you to make sure that the video goes out, or that so many go out, or to make sure we get a placement in there or whatever. But if they say whatever you want, it's up to me. I'm solely responsible for what I say. And if it's your channel, like this is my channel, it's based on my business, my brand, and I decide I only want to disclose positive things, the person now has to ask themselves, are you altering your view because you were paid and you feel obligated? Because now that's a personal, like I said, that integrity has been called to question now. Now this is an on you thing. Now, if you are taking a journalistic approach, like what's the name of from Camera Labs? He takes a journalistic approach. He will seed in a little bit of his opinion, but he just lists out the facts. And so there's a benefit to that, like to say, hey, you're paying me and you sent me the thing, but my platform still takes a journalistic approach. We don't change. Are you in agreement with this, yes or no? If they say, yeah, fine, say whatever you want, it's like, okay, he's sticking to his guns. Gordon from Camera Labs, that's his name. But if it's me, somebody like, let's put myself in the shoes. If somebody pays me, I don't change just because money has come. And if you say I can say what I want, I'm still going to say what I want. The last camera that Sony sent me was the Sony the last one I did was Sony A7 IV. I got the Sony A7S III and the Sony ZV-1F, like I told y'all earlier. Same thing. They just sent me the gear. They're like, if you make something dope, we want to see it. And I'm like, okay. I made zero things with those cameras because I think that they sucked for the approach of why I talk about gear on the channel. A7S III is amazing. I'm shooting on the Sony ZV-E1 right now. It's kind of like the same camera, essentially. But this one is creator focused. That one is more filmmaker approach. And it's like, it's stuff that's in the ZV-10 that would make this a better buy than the A7S III. And before I just bash something because I know it's not right for the channel, it's not really right for the audience, the global audience, if you will, or the majority, why am I going to talk about it then? I chose not to. Looked at the Sony ZV-1F and I'm like, my thoughts was right. My thinking was right. The camera sucks. I'm not going to make a video about it just to bash it or to ride the tail of a wave. So it's on you. So at that point, it's on me. So back to Kombucha's question. Is it less ethical to only focus on the positives? If I have the platform that I have, if I've built the trust over years that I've developed on my own sweat, it is less ethical at that point if I change because something was done positive or whatever. And it's like, well, maybe I should be, a little less critical or whatever, because that's not me. I'm going to be honest, period. Now, if you were paid, then I get paid to do like courses or people want me to teach or something like that or do an ad read or whatever. If I'm paid for that, they're paying me to do a job. And if they say, we need you to make an ad for such and such, then you have parameters and stuff of what that means and why you're doing it. So if you saw me on the Sony channel and they said, Diana, we want to pay you to read this script and to do this ad, is no different than being an actress paid to read a script. Because we know there are plenty of, or maybe some, actors and actresses that act a role, that does jobs, that does things that the actual real person would never do, but they're paid to play the role. And so it's not less ethical in that because you're paid to play a role. So if you see a commercial for a person, they're being paid to play a role. The difference is when you post it on your channel though, even if you say it's an ad or you see that little banner that say it's an ad, confusion has been introduced because the audience is expecting you, not a role. It's up to that person to say, I'm playing a role, y'all. I got a job to do. You know what I'm saying? It was being clear. And that could be a community tab post. It could be something separate out of that piece because they don't want that in that piece. You know what I'm saying? So it's something that it's like, I have deliverables. And that's what you'll see if you ever do any kind of brand deals or stuff like that. Just give y'all a little 101, brand deals 101. You have deliverables. What's included in the contract? What you can or cannot say. You've signed up for a role. Like I said, the difference is if that person posted on their channel, they have to make that clear that I'm hired. That's would be better language other than saying, thanks to Sony for sponsoring this video. If sponsorship is now like an ad read, you know what I'm saying? Like, change the language. I'm telling y'all, get you a Black's Law dictionary. I'm not gonna get into the versions. Just get you one. It'll help. You know what I'm saying? Just look around. Look at certain words. Basic words that we use in plain English, it's not the same in a contract. So it would be better to say, different language than approach to that. So it just, whether or not it's ethical or not is really a factor of what are we doing? Is this posted on your channel or my channel? Because if it's reaching my audience, I now need to make it clear to them, I'm playing a role, y'all. I have to, like, these are the deliverables to do the ad. I would probably do a video before then to say, I'm super pumped. I'm getting hired to do an ad for Amazon, and it's posting on my channel, and we're going to talk about such and such. So that way it's like, so when I do this ad, certain things I got to abide to, but I'll do a separate video, maybe talking about my actual thoughts. I'm not sharing my thoughts in the thing. I'm testing it out, and I'm covering certain points because I'm hired to do this role. But we're posting it on my channel for more reach or whatever. That language needs to be clear. That's all it is. Honestly, that's what it amounts to. Just clear language. Let your people know, what is this? What am I watching? Am I watching you, or am I watching the role? Because I don't know the difference. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's an amazing question. I love that question, honestly. Saying, D, I want to give you your flowers on your A6600 setting. So thank you so much. I appreciate that, brother. Glad to be of service and glad that that helps you. Saying, unfortunately, I think ethics in the gear space is subjective. Which is why some people are saying like it need to be regulated or whatever. I think it is going to be a wave of, like, this is going to go on to a point. We are going to see some introduction of that come to the platform and come to creators in general, because companies know the rules. They have to, because they can get sued, as we could also. But right now it's subjective, but it's going to have to be a fine line drawn. And it'll probably get to the point of where some of what you see, if you saw that recent strike with the Actors Guild and all that stuff, and they were protesting and all this stuff to different actors and actresses, take a moment and look at a contract. You know, just look at a copy of a contract. We probably gonna be held accountable to similar types of standards, where companies are not going. It's not going. Right now, it's the Wild Wild West. It's the Wild Wild West. And I think the FTC is going to have a field day here shortly around some of that, unfortunately. I don't want that. I do want, it's like clean up your own act before you made to kind of a thing. It's like act right before you get a whooping. But I think it's going to come either way, unfortunately. But not everybody ethical. And unfortunately, I've not experienced anybody to where I can say that person does something that I, you know what I'm saying, like can like point a finger at her and stuff like that. But I'll say, I think most creators try to be, but there are some people that care more about the paycheck than they, you know, do about anything else. So what you're seeing on some channels is an avatar. It's an avatar to who the real person is. They're playing a role to a point to, you know what I'm saying, be charismatic, do whatever, you know. So not everybody plays by the same rules, so to speak. It just, honestly, it's going to depend at this point. I think I saw this one for the best video settings for the A600. Again, thank you, appreciate it. Saying, why do your Shure SM7B sound clearer than other people? What do you have? I don't have nothing on it. Nothing. I told you, crisp, to remove the background noise. Because the air conditioner's on. There's no soundproofing or anything like that around. I use the Vocaster too. It has some settings adjustments there, but I don't usually tweak my settings and stuff a lot. I just try to customize things to my voice. That's it. I try to align stuff to my voice. And with the Vocaster, I don't even have to use the preamp joint. I don't have to use any of that stuff. So I'm very plain Jane with my stuff. So, so FYI. So rocking the A6700 I just purchased. Well, congratulations to you. I hope you enjoy that camera. It is an amazing camera. India saying you're, well, in reply to that, India, yurt. Good to see you. Did you hear? Saying what's poppin', sis? I just realized I never called you. No, you ain't called me back. Taking your comment down. I'm just kidding. Shameful. Shameful. Saying I've been wanting to dip my toe in the camera reviews as a parent who doesn't have time nor cares for all that fancy stuff and who needs gear that's toddler proof and practical. Go for it. My homegirl, Meredith, her channel, I think even her handle name, it didn't used to be her name. It used to be like, or maybe that was just how she branded herself really well. It's like GoPro Mom. because that's what she used, and that was her whole aspect of what she used to do, is be like, it was her basically like GoPro type content and cameras and stuff for moms. I think that'll be a dope aspect because there are tons of mothers that simply want a family-based kind of camera, and they want to know, is this going to be able to see my kids? Is this going to be able to capture those moments? How much do I need to know, like, different from my phone to make this work? Because if it's sometimes, which is what was interesting about the Lumix S9, all the buttons and stuff freaked them out, which is why this camera is a hot seller, because it don't have all those buttons and stuff. It's very simple. You can put it in auto, and a lot of people do, and they just roll with it in auto. So there's a market for it for sure, and you can come at it from a lot of stuff, because the Osmo Pocket may be the thing, and they'd be like, oh, I want a bigger screen. It's like the DJI cameras and GoPros might be the thing for certain stuff, or like the ZV-1 could be the thing for certain stuff. So I think there's a big market for that kombucha. I'd say go for it. India America that don't call people back agrees with that. LB Collier saying, I'm at the point now where I will not buy anything more until I have outgrown the camera equipment that I have now. However, if it is information or about a firmware upgrade, then I'm all in. I love that. And what's funny is I'll talk about a lot of different cameras. I may try stuff. I may rent stuff, just like I rented the A6700. I don't buy hardly anything. I got rid of all of that camera gear buying gas syndrome a long time ago. Because you know why? You will go broke playing that game, and you will just waste money. I got other goals than just buying a camera. You know what I'm saying? So I've only used, for the last year, I just picked up another ZV E10 because I need it for a second angle for some stuff, and it just makes making some content easier. But that's what most of the content has been on the channel. Here's how to use what you already bought, or what I just bought, or whatever. I had the ZV-E1 for the last year, traded in all my other stuff, because I'm like, I'm not putting no extra money towards this. I don't need 72 other cameras sitting around the house that ain't doing anything. It's not making any money. They're just depreciating in value. So I traded all my stuff in, a couple lenses, and I was like, I'll change that for the ZV-E1. And that's what I did. I didn't spend a dime on it. I actually had some money back. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get a lens, and I'm gonna keep it simple. So I don't spend a bunch of money on gear. We talk a lot about gear, but I don't spend a bunch of money on gear. When I had just the ZV-10, I already had the A6400, was still waiting with the A6600, eventually got rid of that because in my opinion, the ZV-10 is better for my use case. So I just went with that, you know? India saying Hollyland and Ozbot both tried something similar with me. They sent me products, didn't say much. After they sent it to me, they said they wanted to see my videos first. Guess what? Nothing got published. Funny you should mention, I've never worked with Hollyland before, but I do have the Ozbot camera back here. And the thing is, again, before you take anything, put you on game, before you take anything, what's the parameters about what you sent? Here's what people won't tell you. In the US, can't speak to any other place. In the US, if the company sends you something, business owner or not, if a company sends you something, especially if you have a business though, it is considered a form of income if they expect that in exchange for a video. So all these people that say like, oh, I just got this for free, unless it was specifically outlined, because emails is a form of a paper trail, even though it's not written in like tangible paper. Emails is a form of paper trail. And if you say, I take this free thing, in exchange, I'll do video, that's a form of payment. You are paid in the form of the thing. Versus if you send me the thing, and it's up to me whether or not I make a video on it, you just want me to test it out and try it, and that's it. There's nothing else, you just want to send it to me. The address is public. You can send whatever you want, or if you're just letting me know or whatever, it's like, hey, we got this thing. It's like, okay, great, send it, and we'll see. So as you see, there's not been any videos about the Ozbot camera or what have you, because it's like, number one, until I try something thoroughly, till I'm pleased with it, if it's just me and it's like, I got something, I want to see if it works. I haven't liked it a ton, as much as like for some things, tested it out, and it's like, I'm finding like what that angle is or whatever. And he's like, hey, just curious if whatever. And sometimes you have to put companies that do that, because they don't, some of the times the people in the job, you can't think about the company. You got to think about who's the person you're talking to in the email. They don't always know what they're talking about. That's why I say get you a Black's Law Dictionary, read the FTC stuff, read the stuff on whatever, if you're going to be selling courses, making content, whatever, read the terms and conditions and don't just check a box. At this point, you can copy the terms and conditions, paste it into Gemini or GPT and say, can you make this section plain English for me so I just know what it's saying and what I should or shouldn't do? And don't leave anything out and don't add anything to it. Only judge it based on what I'm putting in here. And it will tell you if you don't understand what you're reading. But I studied contract law for a few years. I was privately trained. So I know what I'm looking at when I'm, looking at something. Even when I go to speak at certain events and stuff like that, and I'll be like, you need to send this back to your lawyers. I have a clause I need to add into this because everything is a conditional acceptance until you actually accept. Meaning, even with your car, worked in the car industry with the bank. Give away all the goods today. Even with your car, when you go to get a new car, new to you, no matter if it's brand new or whatever, when you go to get a car and you get something that's like a conditional acceptance, conditional offer, they're giving you the conditions of what they're saying in order for the deal to go through. It is up to you to decide if you accept those conditions or not, because you can say you don't like the rate and you want to send back a counter offer of X. Then they will send back their counter offer and it's a conversation. Most people just say, can I do this payment or not? And it's a yes or no. And they just go for it. It's a conditional offer. It's like, upon these conditions, we offer you this thing. Same is true with any of this other stuff. Brands will send you stuff. Companies will send you stuff. You can send me whatever you want. I'll decide if I want to go through it or not, unless we're making the agreement. I think I talked about this last week. Maybe I didn't. It's like I had another brand send me something. It was like, we want you to review this thing and check it out. And I was like, I don't really think that's going to be that great for my audience or whatever. I would need to test it first to see if it's even like, because what I'm seeing online, it don't look great. And I'm like, there's some aspects and some stuff that's missing. And before I do this, or even before we enter into a contract, I'm not signing anything. I need to test that first before I just come out and say like, here's something worth reviewing or whatever. I said, I could see some use case for it. And I was like, I can see how it would be helpful in a lot of different stuff, but it's not going to supplant the number one recommendation that I make for this category. So we were having conversations back and forth. And I'm like, and they was like, yep, we want you to feel comfortable in it. We actually made some changes that made it better and blah, blah, blah. And whatever. And I'm like, great. I'm like, I don't think this should be no free thing because it costs me and my team to produce anything. It costs us to go through concepts. It costs time to me and the company before us to go back and forth for revisions. It costs time before stuff passed through my table and my desk before it gets sent out to a brand to review to see if they approve it or not, if that's part of the contract. You can say whether or not if you want something a part of a contract, and it's a conditional offer. So we went back and forth, and I'm like, these are the conditions of what I would need for and what the payment would be. And I still have full rights and liberty to say whatever I want. And they was like, oh man, we can't really pay that. Then I'm like, if you don't think that this is worth the value, because money is simply an exchange for value, and we have to do the research and all the stuff to make it, and you want my brand put behind it, you want my brand, my trust, this is the same stuff for y'all. I ain't telling you nothing special. You want all those things. This ain't cheap. It's not cheap. You would have done better just to probably send it to me and let me decide if I want to talk about it or not. And then see what happened, because that's pretty much what you're doing. Most of the companies, they wasting their money. Throwing stuff around, hoping people make a good enough video and they get some traction. And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. I'm like, but if you want a more for sure thing, if you want to do something like I do with some of these other companies, that costs. There's an investment to be made. You don't believe it's worth the investment, I wish you well, and you walk away from that deal. So again, this is stuff that happens behind the doors. This conversation would never happen if I wasn't doing a live stream, because there's no point to talk about it, I guess. But so I'm telling y'all, you don't have to accept just what somebody throws on your plate. via email, no matter how big the brand is, you have a right to offer and counter offer. Until you get it to a point that you are both in agreement, it meets all of the standards and all the things that you require for your company, your business, and your brand, even if it's your name, because your name means something. That's why they want to work with you to begin with. Because if there was no value, they wouldn't have reached out to you to begin with. Only companies with integrity will make the adjustment. And then there's some of this other stuff that comes where brands are looking at creators as if they're disposable or interchangeable to a point. And I disagree with. So, it is what it is. T. Davis saying, exactly. I'm so far behind the chat. I apologize. I don't know what does first, but all right. So you're awesome. Why, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Saying I also think having integrity and being honest can push brands to be better because they know folks won't sugarcoat anything. Honestly, that would be the best approach for a lot of these companies, is just to be honest, and be honest about what something is, what it ain't, hashtag all the things, and let the truth stand and make adjustments, because you're going to have to make those probably by the next iteration or firmwares. It's a lot of market research that could be done outside of, the stuff. So I want to check in real quick and see what's what with the poll. So I'm curious about this. We got the poll and people are saying, when I asked the question, do you trust camera reviews, in general, or do you only trust certain folks? 87% saying, nah, I only trust certain folks. 13% now saying I trust most reviewers. So we got 39 votes on that one. Pretty interesting, which is about true for me. It's like I don't trust all reviews. I'll take it into an account and I'm looking for what's missing. That's just my approach. I'm always looking for what's missing, what's not being told, what's not being shared, what is being overlooked. That's why I always want to see the manual. The manual don't have a chance to lie. The manual don't have a chance to sugarcoat anything. Show me the manual. Then I can see what all it can and can't do, what is or is not being overlooked. I always look, I wait for the manual to come out and I'll make my decision on, whatever, but it's like the manual gonna tell the truth all the time. And it was like, I was like, what? The first email was fine. It was like, hey, do you want to try these products, etc. Then after the product was delivered, they tried to pressure me and said they wanted the videos. You got to look at what's in agreement. If it's something that's like they sent it to you in exchange for a video, that was the form of payment. That is legally binding. And it's like, so if they say, we sent you this thing for a video, the difference is, did you specify a specific time frame? Or is it on your terms and, whatever, and obviously put like a deadline or whatever, if that's the case. Or if it's certain things, like you decide what those parameters are, because, what's the expected term for that thing? Another something I got in the mail, Viltrox sent months ago, the 20 millimeter. And it's like, no, I'm waiting for certain trips. I'm waiting to put it in certain environments so I can test it, see for myself. How does this work? Because me, desk reviews ain't helping nothing. Me going out my backyard ain't helping nothing. A whole conference of people walking around, me being able to do a shoot or whatever, which I do want to talk about, that adds more value to me doing it versus me trying to publish one right away. So if I'm doing something, it's like it's on my terms of when I do it. It's on my terms of if I do it, if that's going to be the case. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes it's just a language and communication. I have had where I've had to come back at a company that used language just like, well, we sent this and this is like, no, if we go back to the original email, as per my email. But if no, it's just clear communication. You may be confused as you may have communicated this message to many other people, because you got to think you're not the only person that they may have sent stuff to, but you got to look at it and say, well, you may have sent this to other people. And maybe that was the agreement. According to our conversation, these were the terms set at hand or whatever, to where you said there was or was not a requirement of a video. So it depends on what was the agreement. That's all it is. Saying, you have a great point there. Saying, I agree. Sorry, I asked twice, my bad. No worries. Sorry, you gotta go. Purple hand, blue hand, peace, la petite brebis, something like that. What's going on, Walls RS agent? Good to see you. Glad you're here. Saying, I need a phone, please. We have no phones to give. Saying love from India. What is going on, David Hunt? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Saying good evening. Hope everyone is good. Indeed, we are. But Alan, I'm just saying, David, I came a little late. Came a little late because we at that hour mark, and we're not doing a 5-hour energy live stream today. We shall not. We shall not. I'm waiting to see some more details around the Sony ZV-10 Mark II coming out. That should come out allegedly around August, maybe early to mid release, I'm hoping. So then that way by the 1st of September or so, that camera is shipping. That's my hope anyway. I do want to make an updated video talking about that because we need to come on with the come on. Like it's time, it's overtime. So curious. But I enjoyed this conversation with y'all. I appreciate you for being here, whether you have watched this live or on the replay. If you guys have any further questions and comments after this live stream ends, you can post it down in the comment section. And I will be sure to get back with y'all back and forth. Because I said, I talked about this today. I'm glad I did. Had my own video that I want to do, and it's like now I'm like, should I still do that video or not? Because that would take some time, and I'm like, I don't know now. So we'll see. But I do want to probably talk about it on the podcast just to more eloquently put my thoughts out around some of this stuff, and bring some of these questions and comments that we talked about today into that conversation. Because I don't think we've seen the last of this. Companies are now being a little too free with their words, free with their activities and stuff. And unfortunately, I don't think we've seen the last of all this creator gate, so to speak, or at least what I'm calling it. So we shall see. We shall see. But with that, guys, with passion, I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace, hair grease, and love out here in these real and digital streets.